10 SUVs are sitting on American dealer lots right now with so much unsold stock behind them that some of them will not find a buyer before the year is out. And over the next half hour, I'm going to take you through every one of them. What it stickers for, what it's actually transacting for, why the showroom has gone quiet, and how much of that discount is money in your pocket versus an early warning about what the thing will be worth the day you try to sell it. That last part is the whole game, and almost nobody tells you about it. A big discount on a slow seller is not generosity. It is the market pricing the car honestly for the first time, and the number they knock off the hood today is a preview of the number that gets knocked off your trade-in in 3 years. Sometimes the discount is genuinely free money, sometimes it is the down payment on a loss you haven't taken yet. Learning to tell those apart is worth more than any negotiating trick you've ever been taught. I've spent enough years around this to know what a lot looks like when it's in trouble. Not from the sales side, from the side where you appraise the trade, where you find out what the last owner actually got back out of it. 2 things to hold on to while we go. Number 4 on this list is, as of the most recent national inventory data, the slowest selling new vehicle in the entire United States, and it's a badge-engineered copy of another company's SUV that costs thousands more than the original for the same battery, the same motors, and the same range. Number 9 is an SUV built by a manufacturer that currently builds nothing at all. Not one car, anywhere in the world. And somewhere in the middle, I'm going to give you a single number that explains why a dealership will happily lose money on the metal and still shake your hand at the end. Start with the mechanic of the thing because the term you'll see thrown around is market day supply and it gets misused constantly. Market day supply is not how long a specific car has been sitting. It's a ratio. Take the number of that model physically on dealer lots nationwide, divide by how many are selling per day averaged over the last 45 days, and you get the number of days it would take to clear the pile if the factory stopped building them tomorrow. 60 days is healthy. The industry as a whole was running around 80 days of supply this summer. Anything past 150 and somebody at head office is having a difficult meeting. Past 300 and the vehicle has stopped being a product and started being a problem to be managed. Here's what matters to you. High day supply doesn't automatically mean a bad vehicle. Some of the best engineered machines here are on this list. It means supply and demand have come apart, and when they come apart, the price has to move, and the only person it can move toward is you. But it also means the used market has already noticed. The wholesale buyers, the auction lanes, the residual setting departments at the finance companies. They read the same data you're about to hear, and they price accordingly. So that's the thread running through all 10. Every time I give you a discount figure, ask the same question. Is the market discounting the car or discounting the whole idea? Number 1 is the Volkswagen ID.4, and it is not close. This thing has been the slowest selling vehicle in America on and off for the better part of a year. Depending which monthly snapshot you look at, anywhere from 480 days of supply to over 500. 500 days. That's a car built for one model year that will still be new stock when the model after next is in the brochure. Why? 2 reasons, and the first isn't the car's fault. The federal clean vehicle credit, up to $7,500 on a new EV, terminated on the 30th of September 2025 under the tax bill signed that July. Overnight, an EV that had been priced by every manufacturer on the quiet assumption that the government was paying a chunk of it got $7,500 more expensive without a single line item changing on the window sticker. Fourth quarter EV sales across the whole country came in around 230,000 units, down 46% from the quarter before. The second reason is the ID.4's own history, and this is where it gets ugly. Volkswagen recalled 98,806 ID.4s from the 2021 through 2024 model years because the door handles could let water into a printed circuit board, and a wet board could send an open command to the lock, doors popping open while driving. They'd recalled a smaller batch for the same fault in 2023, then concluded it was worse than they thought. By the way, if you drive an SUV and want to keep it reliable for hundreds of thousands of miles without wasting money at the repair shop, I put together a guide called the 500K Mile Car Care Bible. It covers 101 habits that can help your SUV last longer, the warning signs you should never ignore, and how to spot mechanic upsells that quietly drain your wallet. To get your copy, just scan the QR code on screen with your phone's camera or grab it from the first pinned comment below. The result was a stop sale on every unsold and used unit in the country and a production shutdown in Tennessee that ran roughly 3 months. Volkswagen said fewer than 1% of the affected cars actually had the defect, and they were aware of about 135 warranty claims and no injuries. Fine. But I have never seen a satisfying explanation of why it took 3 months to source a door handle from a company that's been making door handles since the 1930s. That's my suspicion, not a reported fact. I think a bad sales year made the urgency evaporate. I can't prove it. The number that should stop you cold isn't the day supply, it's this. The 5-year depreciation study that tracked over 950,000 used sales through February 2026 put the ID4 at 62% of its value gone in 5 years, against a market average under 42. So yes, you can buy one very cheaply right now. Just understand the used market got there first. Which raises an obvious question. If the credit dying is what killed the EVs, what happened to the ones already dying before it? Number 2 is the Jeep Wagoneer S, and it's a genuinely strange story. This was Jeep's first electric vehicle for the American market. 600 horsepower, luxurious, on sale at the start of 2025 at just over $67,000. And it worked, sort of. It moved 10,426 units in its first 9 months. Not a hit, but a real product with real buyers. Then the credit expired. From October 2025 through March 2026, 6 months, dealers moved 613 of them in total. In the first quarter of 2026, the entire country bought 175. That isn't a sales slump. That's a vehicle that stopped existing commercially while still being manufactured. Stellantis responded by skipping the 2026 model year entirely, which the company described as pacing production. There's currently a manufacturer incentive of $750 on the hood, dropping the entry price into the 59s. And to be fair to the machine, it drives well, it's quick, and owners mostly like them. The complaint I keep running into from testers is glitchy software, which is a modern disease, not a Jeep-specific one. Here's the thing about buying an orphan model year, though, and it applies to half this list. Parts and warranty are legally and contractually fine. Nobody's leaving you stranded. What you lose is the second buyer. The person shopping used SUVs and 2029 searches for something they've heard of, and a nameplate that had 1.5 model years and then went quiet generates fear. And fear is a discount. Speaking of orphans, the next one didn't even get a full second act. Number 3 is the Acura ZDX, and it's a lesson in what happens when the badge does all the work. The ZDX was not built by Acura, it was built by General Motors on GM's electric platform, on the same line in Spring Hill, Tennessee that produces the Cadillac Lyriq, the Chevrolet Blazer EV, and the Honda Prologue. Acura did the styling and the tuning. The batteries, motors, and structure were GM's. That's not a scandal. Joint ventures are as old as the industry, but it meant the ZDX competed against 3 cousins that shared its parts. In September 2025, an internal memo went to Acura dealers saying production had ended effective immediately and every planned 2026 unit was cancelled. 1 model year. The reason given publicly was slower than anticipated EV adoption and policy changes. The reason visible in the transactions was that keeping lease payments competitive required discounts that reportedly approached $30,000 a car. You cannot run a business that way. By the first quarter of 2026, the entire country registered 73 of them. 73. There are individual dealerships that sell more pickup trucks in a fortnight. Now number 4, and this is the one I flagged at the start. The Nissan Rogue plug-in hybrid is, according to the most recent National Market Day supply data, the slowest selling new vehicle in America. 443 days of supply with roughly 1,940 sitting on lots. Not the slowest selling SUV, the slowest selling anything. And here's why that's remarkable. It isn't a bad vehicle. 20 kilowatt-hour battery, 38 miles of electric range, 248 horsepower combined, all-wheel drive standard, 3 rows, and a total range around 420 miles. For a lot of families, that's genuinely the right answer. Enough electric range for the school run and the shops without burning a drop, and a normal petrol engine for the drive to see your sister at Thanksgiving. The problem is what it is. It's a Mitsubishi Outlander PHEV with Nissan badges. Not related to, not based on. It is the same vehicle built by Mitsubishi with the upper third of the grille blacked in to suggest a Nissan V-shape and a black bar linking the taillights. Same battery, same range, same charge time, same horsepower. Nissan priced it at $47,485 to start, including the $1,500 destination charge. What does the Mitsubishi cost? Here I have to be honest because the sources disagree. Some outlets compared it against a 2025 Outlander PHEV starting around $40,445. Others, testing against the current 2026 Mitsubishi, put the base closer to $45,325. Depending which you use, the Nissan Premium is somewhere between about $2,000 and $5,500. I'll take the conservative end. The gap is real, but smaller than the headlines claimed, and even then you're paying a meaningful premium for a badge and a slightly different grille on a vehicle the same alliance builds either way. The other quiet problem is the name. There's a normal Nissan Rogue that starts a shade over $30,000. This shares its name and almost nothing else. Different body, different interior, different number of seats. So a customer walks in having researched a $30,000 compact SUV, gets shown a $47,000 three-row plug-in that looks like a Mitsubishi, and their brain simply refuses the transaction. 443 days of supply is what that refusal looks like in a spreadsheet. Nissan's own product chief said publicly they wanted to see how the market responded to this product. Well, it responded. Number 5 is quick because there isn't much to say. The Genesis GV60 moved 338 units in the first half of 2026, down about 68% year over year, from a starting price a shade over $54,000 before destination. It's a well-built electric crossover with a charming interior, a gear selector that looks like a crystal ball, and a rear seat people over 6 foot don't enjoy. That's the item. A good car in a segment that stopped taking calls from a brand whose showroom traffic is walking to the petrol and hybrid models next to it. Not much of a story, but a very cheap lease if you want one. Let me stop the count because 5 is enough examples to see the shape. Every one of those first 5 is electrified and not one died of mechanical failure. They died of policy and arithmetic. The credit that had been doing $7,500 of quiet work on every window sticker ended on a specific Tuesday in September, and everything engineered and priced around it fell over at once. The second half is different, and worse, because it has nothing to do with electricity. From here, we're into large petrol SUVs, luxury badges, and one manufacturer that has stopped producing vehicles entirely. That's number 9, and I'm still holding it. What connects them isn't a battery, it's price. And at the end, I'll show you the single figure that explains why a dealer will take a bath on any of these cars and still be smiling. Number 6 is the Jeep Grand Wagoneer. This has been near the top of the slow-selling charts for well over a year, running around 460 days of supply at one recent reading. Second slowest SUV in the country. The reason isn't complicated. It's a very large, very heavy, very nice truck-based SUV that starts around $66,000 and whose upper trims comfortably clear $100,000. $100,000 for a Jeep. That's not a criticism of the vehicle. The interior is genuinely lovely, the twin turbo 6 is strong and it'll tow what you ask it to. It's a criticism of the pool of people who will finance a $100,000 domestic SUV at the interest rates we have now. That pool got small. Transaction data on the base model has buyers averaging around 6% below sticker, which sounds like a lot until you realize 6% off a car this expensive is roughly $4,000 against a $15,000 first-year depreciation hit on the segment. If you want one, the leverage is real and you should use all of it, but go in knowing you're buying into the fastest shrinking price band in the American market. And if the big American luxury SUV is struggling, imagine the Italian one. Number 7 is the Maserati Grecale, and I'll be straight with you. I have less hands-on time with these than with anything else here. Very few people don't. That's rather the point. The numbers are extraordinary. In one recent reading, 379 days of supplies, and the sales volume behind that figure was 31 units in 45 days. 31. Nationally. There are days when a single busy Toyota store retails more vehicles than Maserati sells Grecales in a month and a half. For 2026, Maserati dropped the 4-cylinder from the American lineup and made the twin-turbo V6 standard, moving the entry price to around $84,500, with the Trofeo at $170,500 and the electric Fulgor just under $120,000. The Grecale is now Maserati's only SUV, the larger Levante having finished after 2024. Honest assessment, it's a lovely thing to drive. Genuinely. The engine is a proper piece of engineering with real racing lineage, and it's competing against a Porsche Macan that costs less, holds its value dramatically better, and has a dealer network that won't leave you driving 200 miles for a warranty repair. The market has done that maths and voted 31 times in 6 weeks. Number 8 is Audi, and I'm treating the brand as one item because the pattern is what matters. The Q8 e-tron, Audi's large electric SUV, has been discontinued. In its final full year, it registered 642 units in the United States, down 89%. The petrol Q8 has been sitting around 200 days of supply while receiving essentially no meaningful updates. One year, the only addition was standard traffic sign recognition. And the collapse wasn't confined to the electric side. The Q3 dropped around 27%, the Q5 around 19%. I want to be careful here because Audi builds good vehicles, but there's a specific trap in this data for you. A luxury SUV left alone for 2 model years while the segment moves underneath it gets discounted hard on the way in and valued brutally on the way out. Luxury models dominate the fastest depreciating rankings. 18 of the 25 worst in the most recent 5-year study were premium badges. That's not snobbery from the used market, it's the used market noticing that the second owner doesn't want to pay premium brand service prices. And now number 9, the one I promised you, the Jaguar F-Pace. The last one came off the line at Solihull on the 19th of December 2025, ending 90 years of Jaguar building petrol cars. As of right now, Jaguar is producing no vehicles at all. Not the F-Pace, not the E-Pace, not the electric I-Pace. Nothing. The whole lineup was deliberately killed to clear the decks for a relaunch as an ultra-premium electric brand, with a 4-door electric Grand Tour expected to start somewhere around $130,000. So what's on the lots is the entire remaining supply of a nameplate that was, for 9 years, the best-selling Jaguar in the company's history. Dealers have been carrying discounts in the $5,000 to $10,000 range on leftover 2025 and 2026 cars. Now should you? This is genuinely interesting, and it's not the obvious answer. Everybody's instinct is to run. Orphan brand, no production, a dealer network shrinking while it waits 18 months for a car to sell. And the resale will be poor, that's not in question. But the F-Pace shares its platform with a Land Rover product very much still in production, the part supply isn't going anywhere, and the vehicle itself is a properly sorted 9 years refined SUV with an optional V8 that almost nothing in the segment offers anymore. Here's my read, marked as a read rather than a fact. If you intend to keep a car for a decade and you buy it with a long, comprehensive service plan and no illusions about trade-in value, the arithmetic can work because you've already been paid the depreciation upfront in the discount. If you intend to trade in 4 years, don't go near it. The person who regrets this car is the one who wanted the badge and the low payment and never asked what happens at the end. Right? That's 9, and the pattern has completed itself. Everything here falls into one of 2 buckets, priced around a subsidy that vanished, or priced for a buyer who has stopped existing. Number 10 is the exception, and I saved it deliberately because it's the one where the vehicle did nothing wrong. Before I get to it, quick one. If you've made it this far, you're the sort of person who wants the numbers rather than the outrage, and I'd take it as a favor if you subscribed. That's it. Back to work. Because number 10 is coming, and after it there's the part where I show you why none of this discounting hurts the dealership as much as you'd think. Number 10 is the Hyundai Ioniq 5, and it's here as a warning about how to read lists like this one. The Ioniq 5 has been sitting at roughly half a year of supply. On paper, that's dire. In reality, it's one of the fastest charging electric vehicles you can buy, on an 800-volt architecture that means a proper high-power charger takes it from nearly flat to 80% while you have a coffee and a sandwich, not while you have lunch, a walk, and a nap. It sold north of 44,000 units in a good year and has won essentially every award the industry hands out. Nothing about the vehicle changed. The subsidy underneath it did, along with a tariff picture on Korean-built vehicles that got considerably more expensive. The day supply went from healthy to alarming without a single engineer touching a single component. This is the item I'd actually buy if electric suits how you live, meaning you can charge at home and you're not doing 600-mile days regularly. A high day supply on a genuinely excellent product is the closest thing to free money that exists in this business. You get the leverage without the underlying rot. Just go in with the depreciation numbers open on your phone and price it as an electric vehicle, not a fashion item. Now, the part I've been holding. Here's what you were told. In December of 2023, the Federal Trade Commission finalized a rule, the Combating Auto Retail Scams Rule, built on roughly a decade of public roundtables, and according to the dissenting judge who later reviewed it, more than 100,000 consumer complaints. 4 provisions. Dealers could not make certain specific misrepresentations. They had to disclose the offering price, the actual price, the one you could buy the car for. They could not charge you for add-ons that provided no benefit, and they had to get your express informed consent before charging you any fee at all. Read that last one again. A federal rule was required to establish that a business must ask you before adding a charge to your bill. Here's what happened. On the day the rule was published, the National Automobile Dealers Association and the Texas Automobile Dealers Association petitioned the Fifth Circuit to throw it out. The July 2024 effective date got paused pending review, and on the 27th of January 2025, by 2 votes to 1, the court vacated it. Not on the substance, not because the practices were fine, but because the FTC had skipped a procedural step and failed to issue an advance notice of proposed rulemaking before it started. The trade association's public statement called the outcome a great result for consumers. The rule has no force or effect. The FTC would have to start over. So here's the arithmetic and hold it against everything you've just heard about 400-day inventories and $30,000 discounts. Publicly traded dealership groups reported an average of $2,530 in finance and insurance gross profit per vehicle retailed. The back end, the products sold in the little office after you've already shaken hands on the price. Up 5% year over year. Right through the period when the metal itself was being discounted into the ground. That's why nobody is panicking as much as the headlines suggest. The car is the ticket into the room. The room is where the business gets done. And the one federal rule that would have forced them to tell you the real price up front and to ask before charging you was killed by the dealer's own trade association on a technicality, while the average new vehicle transaction price sat near $50,000 and the average loan rate ran above 9%. You are not being offered a discount because they like you. You're being offered a discount because it's the cheapest possible way to get you into a chair where the margin lives, which is fine. It's a business, they're allowed to run one. What isn't fine is that the disclosure requirement was fought off before it ever took effect, and almost nobody outside the trade press noticed. You know it now. It doesn't work on people who know it. I want to say something about the wider thing here, and it isn't about dealers. The knowledge that protects you in a transaction like this used to be transmitted the way trade knowledge always has been. Sideways, from someone who'd been through it to someone who hadn't. Your neighbor who'd bought 11 cars told you what to watch. The fella at work who'd been burned told everyone within earshot loudly for a year. That transmission has thinned out, and the reason is that buying a car became rare and expensive enough that most people now do it a handful of times in their life. You cannot build pattern recognition on 6 data points spread across 40 years. So the expertise sits entirely on one side of the desk. They do this 400 times a month, you do it once a decade. And the only thing that closes the gap is somebody telling you plainly what the numbers mean before you're sitting down. That's not a grand philosophy, it's just how skill has always worked. Somebody who knows tells somebody who doesn't, and it costs the person who knows nothing to do it. So pass it on. It's the cheapest thing you'll ever give anybody. Right, here's the whole thing in usable form. The 10 in order: Volkswagen ID-4, Jeep Wagoneer S, Acura ZDX, Nissan Rogue plug-in hybrid, Genesis GV60, Jeep Grand Wagoneer, Maserati Grecale, Audi's Q8 pair, Jaguar F-Pace, Hyundai Ioniq 5. And here's the procedure. Not a rule of thumb, an actual sequence you can run on any vehicle here or any vehicle that lands on next year's version of this list. First, before you contact anybody, find the National Day supply on that exact model and trim. It's published monthly and it's free. Under 60, you have no leverage and you should pay a fair price without shame. Over 200, the dealer is paying interest on that car every day it sits there, and that interest is your friend. Second, look up the 5-year depreciation figure for that model, not its segment. Then subtract the discount you're being offered from the depreciation you're about to eat. If the discount is smaller than the extra depreciation, the deal is a mirage no matter how good the payment looks. And a warning on this step, the depreciation trackers disagree. One major study put the average electric vehicle at 57.2% over 5 years. Another reading the same market came out near 59. Take the conservative number. If the deal only works on the optimistic figure, it doesn't work. Third, get financing pre-approved somewhere else. A bank, a credit union, anywhere that isn't the building you're standing in. You can always take the dealer's rate if it's better. You cannot untake it if it isn't. Fourth, and this is the one that matters most now the disclosure rule is dead. Ask for the out-the-door figure in writing before you agree to anything. Every fee, every add-on, every product itemized. Then go through it line by line and ask what each one is and whether it can be removed. Some can. You'll find out very quickly which store you're dealing with. Fifth, walk out at least once. Not as a tactic, as information. What they say as you reach the door is the most honest thing you'll hear all day. Do that tonight on your sofa with the vehicle you've been thinking about. 20 minutes with the day supply figure, the depreciation figure, and a calculator. By the end, you'll know whether the thing you want is a bargain or a trap, and you'll know it before anyone has had the chance to be charming at you. Now, I'd like to hear from you, and I'd like a specific thing. Tell me about the one you regret. Not the car that let you down mechanically, the deal. The extended warranty you didn't want and couldn't explain the next morning. The trade-in you accepted because it was late and you were tired. The paint protection, the $400 administration fee that appeared between the handshake and the signature. What was it, and what did it cost you? I'll read them, all of them, and I mean that in the least ceremonial way possible. Half of what I know about this business I learned from people typing it out at 11 at night. If you work the desk at one of these stores, you're welcome here too, and I'd rather have your correction than your silence. Tell me where I've got it wrong. Subscribe if this was useful. There's a thread I deliberately didn't pull today. The residual value figures the finance companies set on these vehicles months before the public has any idea a model is in trouble. Those numbers exist, they're written down, and they predict this entire list. I haven't got to the bottom of how they're arrived at yet. When I do, you'll hear about it. Until then, check the day supply, check the depreciation, get the out-the-door number in writing, and don't let anybody rush you. The car's not going anywhere. That's the entire point.